Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and notification bell if you love to watch more cheating stories. Here is my story about my wife and how I survive after 1 year, part 3. Sorry about the late update, I've spent the last few days trying to digest what happened and how I feel. So I did end up going to the hospital on Wednesday night after much toing and froing. I was genuinely about to back out at the last minute as I felt my bottle crashing, but I needed some closure and knew that I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't go and something happened. When I drove into the hospital car park, I had this surreal feeling of paranoia and was half expecting my wife to jump out from behind a bush or something. I met my dad at the entrance and it was pretty awkward as he tried to hug me and I said no. I then said if my wife is here in any way, shape, or form, then I am about turning and out the door. He assured me she wasn't, and we made our way to the ward where Mum was. When I saw my mother, I got the fright of my life as she looked like she had been in the wars. Never have I seen her look so frail. She's got an extreme black eye, also a lot of bruising and purple/yellowness down one side of her face. She took a serious fall, broke 2 ribs, shattered her elbow and banged one side of her head/face on the ground. So elbow, ribs then head in that order as she went down. She looked zombified but perked up when she saw me. She told me how much she's missed me, and that she wasn't sure she'd ever see me again. I told her if she had really wanted to get a hold of me she could done. We spoke for a bit about what exactly had happened and how she was down for a few hours before my dad found her. Also that she was determined to get back to normal and mend bridges with me. I brought up my wife and that I had been pushing for a divorce but she was either ignoring the letters or wasn't getting them, so I asked if she's still in the house. Mum admitted she was and Dad started to look uncomfortable. I just looked away in disgust. Mum started saying how lost my wife is without me, that she's not in a good way. I knew then that nothing will change. She's not had an epiphany or seeing things from a new perspective, she just wants the status quo back. She said that the house is my home and always will be, but I told her I don't want it. It means nothing to me anymore and all it holds are bad memories. I stayed for under an hour all in all. When I left I said if I want to get in contact I will, but don't be waiting over the phone for me to call, as you might be waiting a while. When Dad walked me out he asked if I would keep in touch with him and I said I would. Whether that's right or wrong I don't know, time will tell. When I got home my emotions were a bit all over the place, from sadness to anger, but I'm glad I went. Couldn't help think about my wife as well, and what she once meant to me. It'll never not hurt. When I think about everything that's happened in the last 7 months, it honestly doesn't feel real. The speed at which everything fell apart was just spellbinding. I know life comes at you fast, especially when you're not paying attention, and I wasn't paying attention. It was just sheer luck I found out about her trying to cheat on me, cosmic coincidence, nothing more. I never saw the signs or put everything together, I just saw something on her watch and it tore my fucking life apart. I know now that it wasn't the only time, I know it in my heart. I see what she is and feel no love for her, only contempt. I feel she stole the best years of my life. When I think about all the good times, they're just soured. It feels like someone else's life, not mine. My friend was saying I should see a therapist or something to try and let everything out, or else this will fundamentally change who I am and the way I build relationships going forward. That's something I'm going to do, I think, as I do feel a bit broken inside. The last 7 months have been the worst of my life, but I'd rather they happened than been kept in the dark. I'm just hurt that it happened the way it did, but you can't choose the way someone fucks you over, I suppose, you just have to learn from it. I remember reading about loyalty being the most undervalued character trait and I see that now. It's probably because you don't really know if someone is truly loyal to you until, well, they're not. It's not something you deal with every day, but now more than ever, I know how important a trait it is. Tuesday, July 20th. Hi, so I thought I'd post an update to my previous post as quite a few things have happened. Firstly, I'm now in the home stretch in terms of divorce from my wife. She has signed the divorce papers and sent them to my divorce lawyer, so all that's left now are the formalities. She sent me a message via my dad, where she said she's sorry for not letting me move on, that she thought she could save things but now she knows she can't, and she has to move on for her own well-being. I thank her for seeing sense. She doesn't want anything in the divorce and said she's going to move out of the house when she can get on her feet, which I'm okay with. In terms of my mother, I haven't spoken to her yet, but my dad said she's doing a lot better after getting out of the hospital and getting some normality back. I don't know how things will pan out with them, but I've said that if the house is going to be mine, then I want them to put it into my name now, to give me some security, then we can start trying to build bridges. We'll see how that goes. My biggest battles ahead are in my head, and trying to get over everything that has happened. The brain is a wonderful yet frightening thing. To give you an example, he can still taste the truffles I scoffed and threw up at my grand's house when I was like 5. I've never eaten truffles again, but I can still taste those fucking things 30 years later when I think about it. What I'm getting at is I don't want to harbor thoughts, feelings and opinions about everything that's happened 30 years down the road. I don't want to be one of those older people who's had everything good knocked out of them by the pain of life. You often hear about those people, how they used to be good, kind or funny, but somewhere along the line, they've had experiences that have forever changed them, turned them into a person they never wanted to be, and all that's left is pain. I don't want to be that person. I have to let this pain go before it consumes me. I have started therapy and spoken to a psychiatrist both over the phone and in person, and it has helped me a lot to speak candidly about everything, if only for a little while. My psychiatrist also said something to me that really struck a chord. When I was moaning about how my best years were behind me, she said, "Your best years are the years you've got left." What I think she meant is the past is gone, it doesn't exist, except in your mind, but the here and now does, and you can choose to make the most of it, or live in a past that isn't real to anyone but you. It's definitely a phrase I'm going to try and remember when I feel down. I said in one of the previous posts that I wanted to travel, and that is finally happening. My friend has committed to coming with me, and we're booking a flight to New York at the beginning of October for a week. Really looking forward to it. Always wanted to see New York when the leaves change, reminds me of that movie You've Got Mail. I want this to be just the beginning of my adventures in terms of traveling. I want my latter 30s to be littered with memories from escapades I've had abroad. Well, that's the plan anyway. All I know is that for the first time in what seems like a long time, I'm waking up with hope in my heart and walking with a spring in my step. If that's not progress, then I don't know what is. Wednesday, October 27th. Well, it's now been a year since my first post on Reddit, so thought it would be fitting to give one last update and end things here. First things first, I'm now officially divorced. Feels like a weight has been lifted, but also a firm end to what was nearly a third of my life. I actually saw my ex-wife for the first time since last December as I was walking into a shop in the town center about a month back, after visiting a friend. She was opening the door to walk out just as I was walking in. We were both wearing masks, but I noticed it was her right away, and we made eye contact. She mumbled something that I couldn't make out, then we just sort of stared at each other for a few seconds, then I walked inside. As I was walking around the shop, this feeling of utter sadness just enveloped me, and I had to take a minute to compose myself. It just goes to show, all it takes is one look for you to feel straight back to square one. Do I miss her? No. I miss the person I thought she was, but that person doesn't exist anymore, if she ever did. I don't wish her hurt or hardship though, I really don't. I just refuse to move forward any longer with hatred in my heart. The only person it'll burden in the long run is me. I also found out from a friend's girlfriend that she was sure she saw my ex-wife outside a pub in the city, all over another guy a couple of years back. Apparently she never said anything to me or my friend because she wasn't sure it was her and she didn't want to meddle. I'm extremely pissed off with her, as I could done with that information years ago. It's hardly conclusive, but I could confirmed if she was out that night, etc., and it would have saved me a lot of heartache in the long run. Now I know why I've never liked her. One of the reasons we wanted to book a flight to New York in October, apart from wanting to see NY in autumn, was that the travel ban between the USA and UK was supposed to be lifting in September for fully vaccinated travelers. Unfortunately, that has now been moved back to November 8th, which has put our plans into limbo. My friend also can't get the time off work now till the new year, so if I'm to go, then it'll have to go alone, which is a bit shit since we were both invested in going together. I'm pretty set on going in the new year with him, though we'll have to think things through more thoroughly. One thing this pandemic has consistently been able to do is throw up curveballs, so I really can't complain or say I'm surprised. It'll get there though, by hook or by crook. This is just the start of my journey in that regard, remember? I'm struggling when it comes to my parents, in that all I feel towards them is complete apathy. I'm just having a difficult time feeling anything, and no matter how hard I try, I don't think that'll change. My dad has tried to build back the relationship again, but I just don't care anymore. That might sound harsh, but it's the truth. I said in my last post that I wanted them to put the house in my name, though I haven't followed up on that. I think I was just angry at the time and wanted to assert some dominance at the outset of our conversations, but I really couldn't give a fuck about that house. I think I would rather live in the house from Nightmare on Elm Street than there. It wouldn't change anything anyway. It can't turn back time unless it's turned into a time-traveling house since I've gone or circumvent what they did. It's just the sad consequence of the choices they made. To anyone out there thinking of forgiving a cheater, please don't, I implore you. You're flogging a dead horse. Don't be that person, desperately scrambling to put out fires started by your cheater partner while they gleefully reignite them. I feel stronger than ever after everything that's happened and reading a lot of infidelity support forums in the last year that you're letting yourself in for a world of hurt if you don't cut your losses. Kind of a relevant story, but at the start of the year, I had a really scary experience when I cut the back of my trouser leg on a metal bin while brushing against it at work. I never realized it had caused a cut until I went home, and when I went to bed at night, I felt kinda weird. I woke up about 2 a.m. and my leg was pulsating. I felt deathly ill, was seeing double, dizzy, and was alternating between a severe fever and chills. I understood right away it could be sepsis, so I phoned an ambulance, which they said was going to be 2 hours plus as it was a Friday night and at height of COVID, and my thoughts were doing light speed laps around my head while I was hyperventilating like crazy. Do you know the only thing that calmed me down when I was freaking the fuck out? I accepted that I was possibly going to die, and then for some reason, I just didn't feel afraid anymore. I don't know if it was the whole accepting fate state of mind, but when I accepted that it might be over, it took all the permutations out of the equation and everything became very simple and calm. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and when I think about cheating/betrayal, I feel very similar. You have to accept that what you had is over. It's long gone if someone is willing to plunder such depths and stab you in the back so mercilessly for their own gratification. Fighting that unwinnable battle is noble and all, but when you're pissing into the wind with lottery odds of success, is it worth it? Is it worth the pain? I don't think so. I understand everyone has their own situations with kids, etc., but some fights are just straight up folly. Accept that it's over and things will quickly become clearer. That's just my view. It's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything. Tyler Durden, Fight Club. It's funny, I haven't written about my thoughts and feelings since I was in high school. I work up roofs for a living. This experience, though, has coaxed that side out of me, a side that I had pretty much forgotten existed. If something good has come from this fiasco, it's that I'm not going to bottle things up any longer. It's been cathartic for me to get things out there and see the bigger picture of my situation. Writing things down has helped me more than I ever imagined, so it's something I'm going to continue to do, even if it's just writing to myself on a journal or notepad. I think there are instances in your life when all's said and done, that you can put a pin in and say, things were on a knife edge that day and could have gone either way. I shudder to think what would have happened had I not reached out for help on here, or seen those dog walkers. I'd likely have been blackout drunk, at death's door in a ditch somewhere, or in jail for firing Darren aka Jacket Holder straight through his fucking window frame after going through his house like a tornado. Honestly though, it frightens me to think where I've ended up if things had gone south. I was not in a good way on being drunk, embarrassed and incandescent with rage is a combination that can cause chaos whatever way you cut it. In the end, I'm just happy I made it out the other side without hurting myself or someone else. Most of my posts have been about the ins and outs of what was happening, however, I think the last few have been more about how I feel towards what has happened. Betrayal just renders such passionate and invasive thoughts. There's no action on this earth quite like it. Being stabbed in the back by people that you love? In so many ways it's unique, and the emotions you feel after it are by the same token, equally unique. So cheers for hearing me out. I said in my first post after finding out that I felt like a worse person than I was yesterday. Well, after everything that has happened, I feel like a stronger one too. Thank you for reading my story. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell.